Chris.
The man himself. So, is America winning in Iran? Is President Trump winning in Iran?
Well, listen, the conclusion has not been drawn yet, but I don't think we can attach the word winning to this situation. I mean, think about what havoc it has caused. We've got a country that's wondering whether or not we're at war. We're bombing them. They're bombing, proxies and all of this other stuff going on. I mean, you bombed a hotel in Dubai. It's not an American military base there. The Strait of Hormuz, obviously, we see how that's impeded things in terms of 20% of the oil going through there. And now all of a sudden, that's up in the air right now. You've got ships that are stagnant and not going anywhere. And it's affecting things globally. It's certainly affecting oil prices in the United States of America. I can't look at the president of the United States and say he's winning when he campaigned on no wars anywhere, pretty much. He didn't want no new wars, in fairness to him. He said no new wars. He did say that as opposed to no wars. But he also talked about prioritizing America first. That doesn't seem to be the case at all. And he seems to be very, very inconsistent. And his base, as a result, to some degree, has turned somewhat against him. Certainly not most or all. He still has his followers, his people that are supporting him. But when you look at how they're coming at him now, they are clearly disenchanted with some of the decisions that he has made. They are saying that he has been inconsistent. He's not living up to what his word has been. And who knows how that's going to have an effect, particularly at the polls. It may not affect him because he's not expected to run for a third term by circumventing the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution to run for a third term in 2028. But the GOP does have a midterm coming up. And if it costs them any seats in the House or the Senate, and they lose their powers in at least one House of Congress, that is certainly going to impede his ability to do some of the things he would have wanted to do over the next 2 years remaining in his presidency. And that does not qualify as a win at all.
So the space that's been created by this, ironically, is the Fix America First space. That we're focusing on the domestic agenda and dealing with things here. That's a space for the Democrats. You're saying, as I understand your commentary in recent days, they are not seeing that opportunity. Instead, they're causing themselves troubles with this shutdown that they're continuing.
Well, the shutdown is just egregious, and both sides of the aisle should be ashamed for that. I mean, we saw a shutdown take place months ago where we saw individuals. We did it with your show when we had the town hall at the Kennedy Center, and we had an individual come up there talk about he had to, work for DoorDash or whatever it was just to pay for his kids' tuition. Meanwhile, you got politicians on stage, all of them getting paid, and they're the ones that's supposed to be reaching an agreement and an accord. And even though they're not doing so, they're still getting paid, but the individual wasn't. Now we've got TSA workers, 366 have resigned. 10% have been calling in out of work, skipping days this past Sunday, yesterday as well. The airports are packed to the hilt. Flights are being delayed. People are petrified because they don't know what's coming up next. That's not a win. That's not a good situation for either side of the aisle to be in. And somebody is going to pay the piper for that, make no mistake about it. But as it pertains to President Trump, the bottom line is it's the kind of things that he swore up and down that he could resolve in a nanosecond, that it wouldn't be problematic for him at all. Yet and still we find ourselves in this situation. And then when it comes to the whole Israel thing and their involvement and them coaxing him into doing so, I don't know that. You know that better than me. A lot of people know that better than most of us. But the reality is, because of the relationship he appears to have, Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, and you heard about Israel was intending to strike first, and that ultimately what prompted him to elect to do so. Now you have cynics in the United States of America. And by the way, we don't condone, we don't support, we in any way anti-Semitism whatsoever. Let's be very, very clear about that. But you have people that's using that as an excuse to aim their ire at the Jewish community because they feel that somehow, some way, he's complicit and he's in bed with Netanyahu. Well, that's not helping his battle against anti-Semitism in this country either, because it's fomenting a lot more hatred. How about that relevance? How about that issue being addressed? That's not something that President Trump is doing enough to address as far as I'm concerned. So once again, that doesn't qualify as a win either.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, it smacks of sneaky Jew. That it's all coded statements about the IDF or about Israel.
Sure.
To me, it's just another way of saying sneaky Jews. And I think it's ugly and obvious. But I'll tell you one thing. I believe that we know this president well enough. If it were true, he'd be saying it right now. he'd be saying, I shouldn't have listened to Bibi. Boy, did he have this wrong. He is not slow to throw people under the bus if they lead him into a bad position. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.